The reward you're going to get, of course you can't get the reward over here. That's physical. The reward you're going to get in Olam Haba, infinitely more than in the physical.
Wherever you get your podcasts from, or our own website, prismoftorah.org. This is the Prism of Torah with Rabbi Saf Aaron Prisman.
Shalom Avracha. In this week's Parshas, Bechukosai, we know HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to us, if you follow my rules and my mitzvos and you will perform them, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you a list of blessings. The rains will come on time and the produce the land will give a lot of produce, etc., etc. And if we don't abide by HaKadosh Baruch Hu's rules, then chas v'shalom, we get all the curses. First, I want to dwell upon one question, and that is, Harei, the Gemara in Kedushin clearly tells us that a person does not get reward in this world. And that makes a lot of sense, as Chazal teach us, because the reward is spiritual. Every little spiritual reward is worth an infinite amount more than in the physical world. So it doesn't even make sense to get rewarded in this world. So how can it be that we're getting rewarded for these mitzvahs in this world? Harei, it clearly says in Chazal that we do not get reward for mitzvahs in this world. Schar mitzvahs ba'olam hazeh leika. We do not get reward. So I want to share with you two answers. One answer is based on the Rambam. The Rambam, Hilchos Tshuva, Perek Tes, Halacha Aleph, says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees if you're mekayim the mitzvahs, you perform the mitzvahs, and you do it happily, realizing what life is all about, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to remove any difficulties you have in your life, and He's going to give you and shower you with more, even physical tools, so that you can do more of your job, because He's seeing that you're doing such a great job. Bottom line, the answer is, this is not your reward. Don't make that mistake. The reward is the world to come. What is HaKadosh Baruch Hu telling you? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling you that if you go in the ways of Hashem and you do perform Torah and mitzvahs, then you will get allotted more tools, more money, and you'll have a more peaceful life, so that you'll be able and you'll have more time to do Avodas Hashem, to do more chesed, to learn more Torah, to give more tzedakah, etc., etc. Ad kan hakafa alef. I want to share with you another mahalach, and before we bring this other answer to our main question, which is how can you get rewarded in this world? Harei, we said that reward in this world only makes sense in the world to come because it's spiritual, and anything spiritual, any reward spiritual is infinitely more than the physical reward. But I want to add two more questions. First of all, it says, Im Bechukosai telechu. If you will go in the ways, you'll walk in the ways of my mitzvahs. What does it mean, walk in the ways? That's a weird lashon. It should say, if you're mekayim, if you abide by. What is lalechet? Lalechet is a weird lashon. Another question is, this my friend, Rabbi Eli Kempf, that helps us with the podcast, etc., and the website, he told me we can add another question. And rightfully so. The Gemara in Brachos Daf Zayin Amud Aleph on the bottom says that anything HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells you, if you meet a certain criteria, condition, and I will give you an amazing thing, let's call it a present, then the present you're going to get no matter what, even if you don't meet the condition. And the Gemara proves it from Moshe Rabbeinu. When Klal Yisrael sinned, Moshe Rabbeinu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes to Moshe Rabbeinu and he said, let me kill all of them. Let's just leave you, and don't worry, we'll create a new nation, and your offspring will be, that's the present, your offspring will be huge. Moshe Rabbeinu fought back and he said, no, this is your nation. And eventually HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgave Klal Yisrael and Baruch Hashem. But you see from here that even if the condition is not met, you get blessings. But in our Parsha, it clearly says not like that. It says, if you will abide by my rules, you'll get all these blessings. If not, you'll get curses. What's pshat? To answer all these questions, the Nesivos Shalom says a Mordecai idea. He says there's a famous Midrash Rabbah on the first pasuk in our Parsha, which says, Im Bechukosai telechu, if you abide by my rules. That word, zoom into that word, rules, chukos. The Midrash says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created many rules in nature. There's rules from the sun, stars, and moon that they have to perform their job. There's rules for the waters in the world, the ocean, and the sand, that the sand has to block the water, so that the waters don't totally overcome the whole world and mess up the whole world. And there's also the underwater, Mei Tehom, that also has rules, that it's never allowed to come up to the world, to the earth, and then it's gonna also, there'll be a catastrophe in the world. As we know, sometimes we see such things. Whatever the Cheshma of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is, like a tsunami, an earthquake, in 1 second, there is chaos in the world. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, just like the Pasuk says, Im lo briti yomam v'layla, chukot shamayim v'aretz lo samti, which means, if it's not thanks to my Torah that you Jews, Klal Yisrael, are abiding by, then I'm going to stop those rules that nature needs to to abide by. It's one-to-one, mida keneged mida. Based on this, we can explain the following. And this is what the Nesivos Shalom says. It's not a matter of reward. It's not even fair to call it a condition, a criteria. If you'll do this, then this will happen. No, it's literally a result. It's like when a person doesn't drink water, the result will be that he's thirsty. The blueprint of the world was designed, was planned, was programmed by HaKadosh Baruch Hu in such a way that the rules of nature will continue to exist and the world won't go back to tohu vavohu and everything is going to collapse. Only if a Jew does his job. This is the importance, the Jewish identity, the pride we should have, the responsibility of the world continuing to exist on the Jewish people by them performing Torah and mitzvos, or chas v'shalom, the opposite. And hence, it's not a matter of a condition. Are you going to meet the condition? It doesn't matter if you meet the condition, you're going to get the present anyways. Over here, it's the blueprint of the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world in such a way that if you press a button, which is the Torah and mitzvos, then the world will continue to exist properly in its regular fashion. But if not, everything is going to collapse. I want to add one little nakuda, and I'll answer the last question we asked. What's telechu? Says Nesivos Shalom, if you look carefully in the Midrash, as I tried to summarize it, it's split into three. There is what's in the sky, the sun, the stars, and the moon. There is also on the earth itself, which is the water and the sand. And there's the under the earth, which is the underwater. Each one had rules. Says Nesivos Shalom, also the person, us, the human being, you can, from a certain perspective, categorize it as three different sections. There is the mind, which represents the das, which is our hashkafa. Our hashkafas have to abide by the rules of Torah. We have to think in the way of Torah. Our hearts, which is emotions, which is cravings, all that also, we have to program our hearts to go in the ways of the Torah. And also the third section, which is the underground, that's our limbs. That's the third section, third category. And also those, they have to do actions based on the rules of the Torah. Says the Nesivos Shalom, from here you see, it's not just a matter of abiding by a certain mitzvah, mitzvah A or mitzvah B. That's not the nekuda over here. It's way deeper. There's the spirit of the law. There's the fact you have to program your whole self, just like HaKadosh Baruch Hu programmed the whole world in a way that they should abide by his rules so that the world continues to exist. So too, we have to program everything about us, our minds, our hearts, our whole body, our whole limbs, to always do Retzon Hashem. And if we do that, then the world will continue to exist in a peaceful manner. And it is so imperative that the Jewish people do such a thing because we are in charge of what's going to happen in the world. Mainly, we answered all our questions according to this second mahalach. We said it's not a matter of reward in this world. It's not a reward. It's not a reward. It's an automatic result. The result is that if we abide by our rules, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will ensure the world continues to exist. The reward you're going to get, of course you can't get the reward over here. That's physical. The reward you're going to get in Olam Haba, because the spiritual, any little iota of spirituality reward is infinitely more than in the physical. We also asked, what is this idea telechu? It shouldn't be if you walk in the ways of the Torah. It should be if you're mekayim. There's mitzvahs over here. There's 630 mitzvahs. If you keep the mitzvahs, mekayim, abide by them, fine. Why does it say telechu? Answer, no. The way we explain now that we said that the person is divided into three, the idea is to program that we go in the ways of the Torah. You have to program your mind to think in the hashkafa of the Torah, not what's out there, not what the media is trying to inject in us. Chas v'shalom, we have to go in the ways of the Torah. Every time we analyze a situation, we have to analyze it the way the Torah would analyze. That's Das Torah. When you're confused and you don't know, you ask a Rav. Why? Because he's more in tune with Das Torah. And that way you program also your heart, your emotions to work in the way of Torah. When you see something that hurts you, someone's Mechalel Shabbos, doesn't keep Shabbos, that should hurt you. And so with the limbs, we have to program that the rules that will go in the way of the rules of the Torah in all these three categories. I want to end with a story I said several times, but it fits like a glove. How can I not say it? And it goes in the following way. It's based on the Nefesh HaChaim. Nefesh HaChaim says, Kol Yisrael yesh lahem chelik ba'olam haba. It says, Kol Yisrael yesh lahem chelik la'olam haba. Everyone has a part in the world to come, but it has to the world to come. It should have said everyone will have a place in the world to come. What's to? To the world to come doesn't even make sense in English or in Hebrew. So based on the story, I want to answer that question. The story I once heard is that there used to be a project manager that sold houses, and his secret weapon was this person that was an unbelievable carpenter. Everyone knew his work was unbelievable, and he's the main reason that everyone bought so many houses. After 20 years, Suddenly, the carpenter calls up this project manager and he says, listen, I know we've been together for 20 years, but I'm getting old. The doors are getting heavy for me. It's time that I move on in life and spend more time with my family. So I'm resigning. Says the project manager, please, let's do one more project. He says, I'm sorry. The carpenter says, I'm sorry, I already made my decision. Okay. A week later, the carpenter gets a call from the project manager and he says, listen, I'm asking you for one last favor. Please just do one more house, not a project, one more house. The carpenter didn't know what to say. How can he say no after all the parnasa that this person was giving him? On the other hand, come on, can't you respect my will? I do not want to work anymore. I made this decision. But he had no choice, so he decided to compromise. He'll do the work for this one house, but he's not going to do it top quality. He's actually going to do it in very low quality. And so that is what happened. He continued, he worked on this house. He cut corners every way possible. Perhaps it was even dangerous, certain things he created in that house, but he didn't really care. As he finishes the house, he starts walking out. The project manager suddenly catches him and he says, oh, I'm glad we see each other. Did you complete the house? He said, yeah, here are the new keys. The project manager takes these new keys and he says, listen, I want to tell you something. It's not a secret that the reason we were so successful is thanks to you. The minimum I could do as a token of appreciation is to give you this house as a present. That is why it was so important for me that you do this house. Here, I'm giving you the keys. The carpenter was in shock. He was crying in his heart, half smiling. He couldn't believe it. He was dumbstruck. He messed up his own house with his own two hands. What does this have to do with us? The answer to Nefesh HaChaim's question, and he answers it himself, is it's not like you think. There's not a place that was created before you were born and it's waiting for you in Olam Haba. It's you, the reaction, the toitzah, the result of your actions that create your place, your chelik in Olam Haba, meaning it's continuously happening in real time. It's not that it's there statically. Are you going to get it or not? Located for you already. With your own actions, you're creating it, chas v'shalom, messing it up. It all depends on you. Just like this house, he messed up his own house with his own hands. Yeh Ratzon that we realize the responsibility a Jew has, not just to the Jewish people, but to the whole world. The laws of nature will continue to exist based on the way we continue to go in the ways of the Torah and abide by the Torah rules. Yeh Ratzon that will create continuously a chelik in Olam Haba that we'll be proud of, and will make HaKadosh Baruch Hu proud and nachas ruach in Shabbos.
This concludes another episode of the Prism of Torah. Thank you for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed it and learned something valuable. If you did, please subscribe to the podcast and give a 5-star rating. You can also find this podcast wherever you get your podcasts or our own website, prismoftorah.com, where we have a full archive of all our past episodes. We would like to thank Yona Vefa for the recording equipment and Eli Podcast Productions for handling all our post-podcast productions. Join us next week for another enlightening conversation on the Prism of Torah.